Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Kodi Samaprabha. Nirvignam Kurme Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha. Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam. Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Loka Shankaram. Apara Karuna Sindham Jnanadham Shantarupinam. Shri Chandrasekhara Gurum Pranamami Mudan Dharanataparam. Shri Jayendra Gurum Pujyam Pranamami Mudan Vaham. Chaturdashavaya Pratam Sanyasam Sumahamatim. Namami Shankararambham Shivajendra Saraswatim. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmatacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Swasti Vachanam. Om Shri Kanchi Kamakoti Parayana Jagadguru Shri Shankaracharya Shri Charanayoh Shri Pranamah Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Shri Mahatripura Sundari Sameta Shri Chandramaulishwaraya Namaha. Swasti Sri Madagila Bhumandala Lankara Trayastrim Satkodi Devata Sevitam Shri Kamakshi Devi Sanata Sri Mate Kamranata Sri Mahadevi Sanata Sri Hastigirinath Sakshatkara Paramadhishtana Satyavrata Namankita Kanchi Divyakshetre Sharada Mata Sustitanam Atulita Sudarasa Madhurya Kamalasana Kamili Dhammilla Sampulla Mallika Malika Nishchanda Makarandajari Sauvastika Vangnigumba Vizirmanananda Dundilita Maneshi Mandalanam Anavarata Advaita Vidya Vinodarasikanam Nirantaralankriti Krita Shanti Danti Bhumnam Shri Chakrapuno Shri Chakrapashava Sarvalang Shri Chakradishtava Kanchi Kamakoti Parayana. Sorry for the interruption. Swasti Sri Madakila Bhumandala Trestrimsat Kodi Devata Sevita Sri Kamakshi Devi Sanata Sri Mate Kamranata Sri Mahadevi Sanata Sri Hastigirinata Sakshatkara Paramadhishtana Satyavrata Namankita Kanchi Divyakshetre Sharada Mata Sustitanam Atulita Sudara Samadhurya Kamalasana Kamini Dhammilla Sampulla Mallika Malika Nishchanda Makarandajari Sauvastika Vangnigumba Vizirmanananda Dundilita Maneshi Mandalana Anavarata Advaita Vidya Vinodarasikanam Nirantaralankriti Kata Shanti Danti Bhuvnam Shakala Bhavana Chakra Padishtavaka Shri Chakra Padishta Vikhyadesholankratanam Nikila Pashanda Shanda Kantakot Padanenam Vishadikrita Veda Vedanta Marga Shanmada Padishtavaka Acharyanam Srimat Paramahamsa Parivrajakaacharya Varya Shri Jagat Guru Shri Mutt Shankara Bhagavatpada Acharyanam Adhishtane Simhasana Vishikta Shri Mutt Chandrasekharendra Saraswati Samyamindranam Ante Vasi Varya Shri Mutt Jendra Saraswati Shri Padhanam Tadante Vasi Varya Shri Mutt Shankara Vijendra Saraswati Shri Padhanancha Charanayoham Shaprachayam Shanjali Bandhancha Namaskurmaha. Hari Om. Kanchi Kamakoti Seva Foundation, Midwest Chapter, welcomes you all to this edition of Kamakoti Parayana Mandali on this auspicious Tula Aipasi Masam. We welcome our speaker and presenter for today's program, Shri Aravind Hariharan. Shri Aravind is as you are all familiar with him, he has been part of this Kamakoti Parayana Mandali program in the past. He has given a lecture on Sri Appaya Dikshidhar. He is also associated with, he's primarily from Bloomington, Illinois. He's associated with a lot of institutions in Chennai, namely Sanskrit College, and a lot of other learned scholars in Sanatana Dharma. And he's also closely associated with the Bloomington Hindu Temple. So today, Shri Aravind Hariharanji will be presenting a discourse on Bhakti Marga and Shri Adi Shankara Bhagavatpada Acharya's works. So without much ado, I hand it over to Aravind Hariharan.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namo Namah Sadgurubhyaha Sadgurubhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Namah Sadgurubhyo Sadgurubhyo Namo Namaha. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Gurur Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shruti Smriti Purana Namalayam Karunalayam Namagami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram Yonta Pravishya Mama Vachamimam Prasuptam Sanjeevayatyakila Shakti Dharaswadhamna Anyanshcha Hastacharana Shravanatvagadin Pranan Namo Bhagavate Purushaya Tubhyam Purushaya Tubhyam Namo Bhagavate Apara Karuna Sindhum Jnanadam Shantarupinam Shri Chandrasekhara Gurum Pranamami Mudanvaham Hare Rameti Krishneti Nama Sankirtanam Sada Lokakshemaya Kurvantam Sadgurum Premikam Bhaje Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai. My humble namaskarams to all the devotees. Bhagavatpada Acharya, Shri Shankara Bhagavatpada Acharya, as we call him, is fondly referred to as Jagat Guru Srimad Shankara Bhagavatpada Acharya. For the word Jagat Guru, Shri Shri Mahapriyava gave a very unique explanation that the whole Jagat is his own Guru. In fact, it was the same explanation that was given by Dattatreya in Srimad Bhagavatam to Yami Maharaja. When Yadu Maharaja asked him, he said, how is this Prashanti possible for you? Shri Dattatreya replied to him saying that this entire Jagat is my Guru. I see something to be followed and understood from every person. So this entire Jagat becomes my Guru. The other meaning of Jagat Guru is that no matter who in this Jagat is looking for instructions, the Jagat Guru has the capacity to be able to instruct him in that path and carry him forward. That is the reason why Shankara Bhagavatpada Acharya is called as Jagat Guru. There is a very interesting work by the brother of Shri Shri Mahapriyava, Shri Shivan Sir, called Yenipadiyal Mandargal. It is a very, very interesting work that needs to be read, where he details all the different steps that a jiva undergoes towards attaining perfection and gives examples of different personalities in that. No matter what one's disposition is, Shankara Bhagavatpada Acharya during his lifetime, as well as even today, through his works and the avichinna parampara of disciples that he has left in the different mutts across Bharata Punya Bhumi, instruct us as devotees in different ways towards the same goal. Bhagavatpada Acharya is very unique in that he has given instructions to all his disciples who are from all forms and all with different natures in them. Shri Bhagavatpada Acharya had 4 main disciples, as you know. Padmapadacharya was a friend of Bhagavatpada Acharya from his initial days. He was very close to Bhagavatpada Acharya. He always traveled with Bhagavatpada Acharya throughout his journey and stayed with him. He was very learned. And Sureshwaracharya was a very great scholar even before he met Bhagavatpada Acharya. He had mastered Purva Mimamsa and then met Bhagavatpada Acharya, debated with him, and realized the teachings of the Upanishads as supreme and took Brahmajnana as its goal and took sannyasa under the guidance of Bhagavatpada Acharya. So Sureshwaracharya was extremely learned. And then Hastamalaka was another disciple who had already attained perfection by himself. When Bhagavatpada Acharya found him, when he was asked, "Who am I?" he could reply with a stotra that came out and said that I am that pure awareness, the Atma, that is the I. Bhagavatpada Acharya was astonished, and with so much of joy, he took Hastamalaka as a disciple, and Hastamalaka stayed with Acharya henceforth. Out of all these 3 came the next one, who was Thotakacharya. He was called as Anandagiri or Giri in his sannyasa ashrama name that was given to him. He was very unique that he was not as learned as Padmapada or Sureshwaracharya, nor he had attained the state of perfection like Hastamalaka, but he was so attached to the Guru. It is said in the Shankara Vijayam that he belonged to the region of Karnataka, and when Acharya was touring through Karnataka, he sees Thotaka and takes him as a disciple, because Thotakacharya then and there decides that he needs to be with Bhagavatpada Acharya then and there. He leaves his house and travels with him immediately. He had that vairagya in him. And he was so into serving his guru and his disciples as well. No matter where Bhagavatpada Acharya was, he would always attend to the needs of Bhagavatpada Acharya and all the other disciples. He would wash the vastram of all of them, dry it, fold it, and make it ready for the next day. He would clean the place where Bhashya Patam was happening on a daily basis and make it congenial for teaching to happen there. He would fan Acharya standing near him when Bhashya Patam happened and made sure that Acharya was comfortable and can give lectures for a long time. He would go around, get bhiksha, not only for himself, but also for Bhagavatpada Acharya, because Bhagavatpada Acharya was very busy in Grantha Rachana, in composing different works. Anandagiri was so into the service of Guru. And then a very beautiful incident happens in his life. He is washing all the clothes of Bhagavatpada Acharya and his disciples on the other side of the Tunga river in Sringagiri. Bhagavatpada Acharya is ready for Bhashya Pata on that day. So normally the scheme is that all the disciples arrive first, Antevasis are there first, they are all seated, they look forward for Acharya to come, and Acharya comes in, he is also seated. They maintain silence for 1 or 2 minutes for their mind to settle down, and then start the Shanti Patha. Once Shanti Patha is over, Dakshinamurti Stothram is recited to a certain extent, and then Bhashya Patha normally begins. On that day, Acharya stops Bhashya Patha without beginning and is very silent. After a few minutes, he looks at Giri. He hasn't finished his chores yet. Normally, he would be here, where the Bhashya Patam happens. He is waiting for Giri to arrive. Without knowing why Acharya hasn't started the Bhashya Patam, his disciples prompt, "We are ready, please start the Patha." Acharya says, "Let Giri arrive, then we will start." They don't say anything, they are quiet. Acharya is also very quiet. Anandagiri is almost done with his chores. He is drying all the clothes. Acharya is still waiting. And then the disciple again, after a few minutes, get a little impatient and ask the Acharya, "Can we start again?" And Acharya says, "Let Giri arrive, we'll start." Then they make a small pungent comment saying, "Giri is anyway not going to understand all these things. Why wait for him?" When that comment hits Acharya, something very unique happens in the mind of Acharya. Karuna flows through his eyes, and he looks at Giri, who is there on the other side. That which needs to be known through lectures and understanding and notes and study, Acharya transfers that knowledge thus with just a glance. Acharya looks at Anandagiri, Anandagiri looks at Acharya, and immediately all his manovrittis cease to exist, and the thoughts in his mind find its source. Immediately he realizes who he really is. He is the pure self-awareness, Atma. Then and there, he is in Atmanubhava, in Samadhi Sthiti, right then and there. He is like that for a few minutes. And Acharya keeps looking at him throughout that process. And then once he regains his consciousness, and now that he has gained the Atma Jnana and has a taste of what it is, he immediately bursts with a composition out of mere joy. Vidhita khila shastra sudha jaladhe mahitopanishat kathitartha nidhe hridaye kalaye vimalam charanam bhava shankara deshikame sharanam karuna varunalaya palaya mam bhavasagara dukkha viduna hridam rachaya kila darshana tattvavidam bhava shankara deshikame sharanam rachaya kila darshana tattvavidam bhava shankara deshikame sharanam. Hey Acharya, you are an ocean of karuna. Karuna varunalayaha bhavan. Palayama. Hey Acharya, you are an ocean of compassion. You know, I am stuck in a different ocean. Bhavasagara dukkha viduna hridam. My mind and my heart is immersed in the ocean of samsara. And you with your glance of karuna is able to transform me from this ocean of samsara into this ocean of ultimate bliss, atmanubhava, by rachaya akhila darshana tattvavidam, by instructing me into the knowledge of all that needs to be known. Akhila darshana. Jagadacharya, he is Jagat Guru, because in his bhashyams, he has taught all that are the principal ideas that exist in Sanatana Dharma. Hey Acharya, you instruct me in that. Akhila darshana tattvamidam rachaya bhava Shankara deshika me sharanam. Hey Shankara deshika, may you become my refuge. It is a very unique Sharanagati by Thotakacharya, because here he is not saying Charanau Sharanam Prapadye. That is a very common form of Sharanagati, because there the devotee is saying, I am surrendering to you. So the process of surrender is in the devotee. Rather, here he transfers the process of surrender to the master and says, may you become my refuge. Sharanam me bhava. Bhava. Shankara deshika me sharanam bhava. May you become, because of your will, may you accept me and make me surrender to you. Bhava Shankara deshika me sharanam. Thotakacharya is very unique that he gains Atmajnanam purely by the grace of Acharya. This grace of Acharya or grace of Bhagavan, this Karuna, is very unique, because Acharya emphasizes Atmajnana as the goal of everyone. Knowing the answer to the question, who am I, is the purpose of human existence. There is no second thought about it. But due to the placement of a sadhaka in different positions and frameworks, he needs to start from different places. For a Uttamadhikari, if he is someone who is instructed in the Mahavakyas, then all that he needs to know is that in itself is capable of producing Atmajnana. Shravana alone, without Manana and Nididhyasana, produces Atmajnana for an Uttamadhikari. This is taken up for discussion in the Upanishad Bhashyam of Acharya. But for a common man, he needs to deal with his mind as such. How does he deal with his mind and can attain the supreme goal? There, Acharya comes up with an explanation as to what bhakti is, to be able to instruct this. And Thotakacharya was a recipient of that through the karuna of Acharya. Thotakacharya is no normal Acharya either. He has composed a very great work called Shrutisara Samudharanam, which is also in the same meter as this Vidhita Kila Shastra Sudha Jaladhe that we saw. Thotakashtakam, as it is called, because it is in the Thotaka meter. The same meter he uses for Shrutisara Samudharanam as well. There is 100 and odd slokas in it, where the entire process of Vedanta is beautifully laid out. He finishes that work with a very popular verse that we all know, Bhufpado Vyasyana Bhihi Vyadur Suranilash Chandra Surya Uchanetre. That verse is found in Shrutisara Samudharanam, that has been incorporated as a part of Vishnu Sahasranama Parayana for a sadhaka. That brings the concept of bhakti and what it is. And when Bhagavatpada Acharya is defining bhakti, or when he is elaborating on what bhakti is, he comes up with a very beautiful verse in Shivananda Lahari. Kolam nija bija santatihi ayaskanto phalam suchika Ankolam nija bija santatirayaskanto palam suchika sadvinaija vibhum latagakshitiruham sindhusaridvallabham prapnotiha yatha tatha pashupatehe padaravind cheto vrittirupetyatisthati sada sa bhaktirityuchyate cheto vrittirupetyatisthati sada sa bhaktirityuchyate. Ankolam cheto vrittihi upetya tishtati sada sa bhaktihi ityuchyate. When the thoughts that arise in the mind go and attain the lotus feet of Ishvara, it is called as bhakti. Like Ankolam nija bija santatihi, like the seeds that fall from an ankola tree automatically goes and attaches to the tree again because of the attraction that is there in the tree. The akarshana that is there in the tree makes the seed of the tree come back to the tree. A great Vidwan once mentioned to me that he has seen this tree in a forest near Karnataka, in the borders of Srangeri, there when he was visiting, that it was astonishing to see that when a seed falls down from the tree, it automatically rolls down and goes and attaches to the tree as such. So there is an akarshana in the tree to be able to get its seed back to itself. Ankolam nija bija santatihi ayaskanto phalam suchika. Ayaskanto palam is a magnet. Suchika is a needle, like a magnetic needle that always points to the North Pole, because there is paraspara akarshana between the pole and the magnet. No matter where you turn, it turns towards north. Like that, when the thoughts that occur in the mind automatically turn towards Ishvara, then it is called as bhakti. Sadhvi naija vibhum, like a sadhvi who is always in constant thought of her lover, who is also constantly thinking of her. Latakshitiruham, like a creeper that automatically goes and finds a way to go up in a pole or a tree. Sindhuhu saridvallabham. Naturally, a river flows towards the ocean. Sindhuhu saridvallabham. No matter where the river originates, in however high the altitude is from the mountain, it flows down towards the ocean as its very nature is towards flowing down. Like that, when the thoughts in our mind, prapnotiha yatha tatha pashupatehe padaravind yatha ankolam nija bija santatihi yatha yaskanto palam suchika tatha Pashupatehe Padaravindadvayam Prapnoti Cheto Vrittihi. All the thoughts that occur in one's mind automatically gravitates towards the lotus feet of Ishvara. Sa bhaktihi iti uchyate. That is called as bhakti. That is the state that is called as devotion. It is a very beautiful understanding of bhakti, because there is a literature called Bhakti Sutra by Narada Maharshi. Like how you have Yoga Sutras and Brahma Sutra by Badarayana, there are Bhakti Sutras that really codify what bhakti is. There, Narada Bhagavan says, Athato bhaktim vyakhyāsyāmaha sātu asmin prema swarupa. It is pure love of the Atma. It is the very nature of Atma. Asmin prema swarupa. Because how is the process of bhakti possible is what Bhagavatpada Acharya shows here. Because that which is the Atma is Ishvara. So when all the thoughts that occur in one's mind travel towards Ishvara, which is pure Atma, it is called as bhakti. In Geetha, in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan gives a lot of qualities that are needed for a sadhaka, called Daivi Sampat, Anamitvam, Adamhitvam, and so on. And one of the qualities that he gives there is Maicha Ananya Yogena Bhaktihi Avyabhicharini Vivikta Desha Sevitvam Aratir Janasamsadi. Mai, in me. Bhaktihi, bhakti. Bhakti in me. And he qualifies that bhakti. That bhakti normally is always given with two very unique adjectives. Ananya bhaktihi, avyabhicharini bhaktihi. One-pointed devotion and a non-wavering devotion. Avyabhicharini bhaktihi, ananya bhaktihi is termed as a quality that is needed for a sadhaka. Acharya writes in his Bhashyam, Mayi cha Ishware, because the Asmat Shabda that is used by Bhagavan, whenever he says Mam, Mayi, there are different interpretations for that Mam. Many a times that Mam is Ishwara. Krishna is talking as Parameshwara himself, Ishwara. There are other places he says Mam as Devaki Nandana, Mam as the son of Devaki, the cousin of Arjuna. Then there are other places where Mam points to pure Atma, the Nirguna Nirakar Shuddha Chaitanya Swarupa Atma. So the Asmat Shabda here needs to be explained. So Acharya says in his Bhashyam, Mayi cha Ishware Ananya Yogena Aprathak Samadhinana Anyo Bhagavato Vasudevat Paraha Asti Ataha Sayeva Na Vasudevat Paraha Asti. There is no one other than Vasudeva as my goal. Ataha Sayeva na Gatihi Ityevam Nishchita Avyabhicharini Buddhihi Ananya Yogaha Tena Bhajanam Bhaktihi. With that understanding, Bhajanam is Bhakti. Because when Bhagavan becomes our goal, meaning when the thoughts that arise in our mind has Bhagavan as the goal, it becomes Bhakti, which is the definition that we saw in Sivananda Lahari as well. And then Bhagavan goes to say, Na vyabhicharini, avyabhicharini. It doesn't waver. And then sa cha jnanam. Bhagavatpada Acharya makes a very bold statement here. That is called as jnanam. This bhakti is called as jnanam. Because Acharya defines bhakti in a different way in Vivekachudamani. There he says, Moksha sadhana samagryam bhaktireva gariyasi swaswarupanu sandhanam bhaktiritya vidhiyate. moksha sadhana samagryam, of all the different things that are needed to attain moksha, moksha sadhana samagryam, bhakti reva gariyasi. Bhakti alone is the supreme. What is that bhakti? Swaswarupa anusandhanam bhaktihi iti abhidhiyate. Bhakti is defined as knowing one's own self. So now, when you see the statement here, Sata Jnanam, these two are not two contradictory statements, rather they complement each other. Because when Vasudeva becomes one's goal, automatically the nature of Vasudeva is Atma. So to know Vasudeva is to know one's own Atma, because Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hriddeshe Arjuna Tishtati. Ishvara alone resides in everybody's heart. So to revert back the thoughts back to Ishvara means to go back to its source, which is what Jnanam is. So Bhagavat, rather than saying bhakti is a lower step, it is prescribed for people who are not ready and so on, he makes a very bold statement here that bhakti and jnana are one and the same. And how to attain that bhakti? Now we come there as to the process of getting our mind, training our mind towards this process of making the thoughts flow towards Ishvara. There, Krishna says, you practice Vivikta Desha Sevitvam Aratil Jana Samsadi. There, Acharya gives a very, very beautiful bhashya here. Aranya Nadi Pulina Devagrihadi Bhir Vivikto Deshaha. For the word Vivikta Desha Sevitvam, there he says, so isolated, training one to be in isolation is called Vivikta Desha Sevitvam. Aratir Jana Samsati, without the disturbance that is created by the crowd, is called as Vivikta Desha Sevitvam. Meaning to be in solitude. But then Acharya gives an explanation that it is not possible for everyone to be in the solitude initially. There he says, Aranya Nadi Pulina Devagrihadibhir Vivikto Deshaha. There, yes, the environment around you needs to be in such a way that your mind automatically resolves to the source. And what is that environment? He comes with some examples. Aranya. In a very beautiful, in a place where, like Aranya is a forest, that we all know. But where there is so much of silence, when you go there, that mind automatically resolves towards its source. See, this happens when you go look at the Grand Canyon, or when you see the grandness of the ocean, or the sky, or the forest, and so on. Nadi Pulina, where in the banks of Punya Nadis, and Acharya adds a third category, Devagrihadibhir Vivikto Deshaha, visiting temples where Ishvara is enshrined. Devagriha. Acharya shows this throughout his life, traveling the length and breadth of Bharata Punya Bhumi and showing that we also need to be in pilgrimage in our life and visit different shrines of Ishvara for our mind also to be able to resolve in the lotus feet of Ishvara. Let us take this opportunity to go on a Manasa Yatra with Acharya today, from his birthplace of Kaladi to the Himalayas and to the western east of Bharata Mandala, where all he visited, all the shrines he visited. Let us also visit. Bhagavatpada Acharya is one of the very few Acharyas who visited this many places. No matter where you go in Bharat, there is some temple where they say Bhagavatpada Acharya visited here. he did this pratishta, he did that or this and so on. It is impossible for one acharya to do all this. He might have done it as well, but the most fortunate thing is all the acharyas in his parampara also do this during their lifetime. Shri Mahaviriva was a very great example of this. He walked the entire length and breadth of Bharat till the very ripe age of 90s. Just by Padayatra, he visited all the different shrines and different pilgrimage spots and made them pure. When a Mahatma visits a pilgrimage spot, the spot becomes pure, says Bhagavatam as such. Let us get on a tour with Bhagavatpada Acharya. As you all know, Bhagavatpada Acharya was born in Kalati. And even before he was born in Kalati, his parents visited Vrishachala, where Parameshwara is enshrined as Idavam Kundranathar. Idavam means Vrisha, Achala means Kundra, Vrishachalanatha, the Tamil for it is Idavam Kundranathan. Idavam Kundranathan, and then it becomes Vadaknathan by slow transformation there. But there is no Vadak or anything like that. The pure Tamil name for us is Idavam Kundranatha. There, they stay there and do a bhajanam for 45 days. Parameshwara appears in their dream and blesses them, saying that I am going to be born as a son to you to be able to bring out the essence of the Upanishads and the teachings of the Vedas. There, possibly, they say that there is a tradition that Acharya was given the Panchakshara mantra in that kshetra after he grew up. So his father brought him and gave him Panchakshara Diksha in Vrishachala. There is a very beautiful hymn, very simple hymn that is very popular. Nagendra Haraya Trilochanaya Bhasmangaragaya Maheshwaraya Nityaya Shuddhaya Digambaraya Tasmai Nakaraya Namah Shivaya. Tasmai Nakaraya Namah Shivaya. Then he goes on, Makaraya, Shikaraya, and so on. This kshetra indicates his love towards the Nama, the Panchakshara, Namah Shivaya. Then Acharya was born in Kalati. Kalati becomes a great kshetra just because of the birth of Acharya. Like how Ayodhya is because of the birth of Sri Rama, or Mathura is because of the birth of Sri Krishna. Bhagavatpada Acharya is Ishvara himself. In fact, Thotakacharya in the same Thotakashtakam says, Bhavayeva Bhavan iti me nitaram matihi samajayata chetasi kautukita mama varaya moha mahajaladhim bhava Shankara deshikame sharanam. Bhavayeva Bhavan iti me nitaram matihi. You are Parameshwara himself. That is very evident in all the actions that are recorded in the Shankara Vijayams that Acharya does. Because Acharya was barely 5 years old when he mastered all the Vedas. He went through Upanayanam and he goes for Bhiksha to Agriham in Kalati once. And he says, Bhavati Bhikshan Dehi. And the lady of the house looks at everything that is there in the house and she couldn't find anything to be offered to that boy because they were so poor. She searches all the vessels and finds out one small gooseberry, brings it and puts it in Acharya's Viksha Patra. And she stands there unable to really bear that she is not able to offer anything better. Acharya looks at her and immediately karuna flows out of his heart. When that karunyam transforms into a composition, it is not a prayer. It is just an outburst of that karuna of Acharya towards Bhagavan. Here, because the deity is Tayar or Mahalakshmi who is addressed, he says, Dighastibhe Kanaka Kumbhamukha Srishta Swarvahini Vimalacharu Jalaplutangi Pratarnamami Jagatam Jananim Asesha Lokadhinata Grihinim Amritabdhiputrim Kamale Kamalakshavallabhe Tvam Karuna Purataranjitairapangaihi Avalokayamam Akinchananam Prathamam Patram Akritrimam Dayayaha. He Lokajanani, He Trilokanatha Grihini, you are the mother of this entire universe. You please shed your glance. Avalokayamam Akinchananam Prathamam Patram. With that, he prays to Mahalakshmi, and immediately there is a golden shower of gooseberries. That family still lives in Kalati, and they are called as Suvarnatmana, and that tradition is still there, where in the house where this golden rain of gooseberries happened there. A simple outburst of Karuna by Acharya and a composition beautifully springs up in the heart of Acharya. Kalati is a very great kshetra by itself because there is a Krishna temple there called Kaladiyappan Koil. There, Acharya's mother Aryamba daily used to go for a bath in the Purna river, and she used to take young Acharya with her. And after the bath, they used to come together to this Krishna temple, and she used to hold his hands and teach him how to pray in front of Krishna. Acharya never forgets this throughout his life, because when his mother was in her deathbed, Acharya comes back to Kaladi, and he prays to this Krishna, Kaladiyappan, with a very beautiful prayer. Shriya Shlishto Vishnuhu Sthiratara Guruhu Vegeda Vishayaha Dhiyagam Sakshi Shuddho Harirasura Abjanayanaha Gadi Shankhi Chakri Vimalavanamali Sthira Ruchihi Sharanyo Lokesho Mama Bhavatu Krishno Akshi Vishayaha Sharanyo Lokesho Mama Bhavatu Krishna Rakshi Vishayaha. It very beautifully describes the form of Krishna there. Gadi Shanki Chakri Vimalavanamali Sthira Ruchihi. May that Krishna, Guruvayurappan, the very famous form which is found in many temples in Krishna, like that of Kalati as well. The picture that you see there is of Kaladiyappan, where he is holding a conch on one hand and chakra another, a beautiful lotus on one hand and gada on the other one, sporting a very beautiful smile. Shriyashlishto Vishnuhu Sthiratara Guruhu. He's the Guru, Jagat Guru, Krishna. And he prays to the Krishna for Matra Mokshartha Siddhaye. That is said in the Stotra itself. It's called Krishnashtakam. this is the first shloka, and in the last shloka, he prays to Krishna, saying that you please give salvation to my mother. And immediately, with folded hands, she is able to see that Krishna. In fact, that stotra itself concludes that his mother sees Krishna in that form and immediately merges into Ishvara right then and there. That is the power of the stotras of Acharya. This was also composed in Kaladi. So, from Kaladi, it also, when Acharya, after the crocodile incident where Acharya gets permission for sannyasa, he leaves Kaladi and goes. And he has already taken up sannyasa, so there isn't anything else for him to carry. But in one of the Shankara Vijayams, a very interesting anecdote is given where Acharya used to play with a small Krishna idol when he was a boy. Acharya takes him as his friend with him and travels towards Omkareshwar, where he wants to meet his guru, Govindashtakam Acharya. And very, very interestingly, once when I visited Udupi in one of the Mutts, they said that Padmapadacharya had given that idol, and in Parampara, that idol is now in one of the Advaitham Mutts in Udupi. So, probably this legend is true, we do not know, but what it shows is the bhakti of Acharya towards Jagadguru Krishna. From Kaladi, Acharya travels towards Omkareshwar, where he is ready to see his guru. In fact, a small incident happens where the Narmada river soars and Acharya composes a beautiful hymn on Narmada, and she addresses him, Tvadiya pada pankajam namami deva narmade, Tvadiya pada pankajam namami devi narmade, Tvadiya pada pankajam namami devi narmade. And immediately the force of Narmada reduces and gets into his kamandalu, as you see in this picture. This is the guha where Shri Govindashtakam Acharya was, and Acharya goes and meets him. And when the question as to who are you is asked, then Acharya immediately contemplates, who am I? And answers it. Mano buddhyahankara chittani naham nacha shrotra jihve nacha grana netre nacha vyoma bhumir na tejo na vayuhu chidananda rupa Shivoham, Shivoham, Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham. I am that pure awareness. And Govindashtakam Acharya was ecstatic in finding a disciple like this. He immediately sees him as the torchbearer of the tradition of Vedanta. Because the tradition of Vedanta does not originate from Shankara Bhagavatpada Acharya. Rather, it is handed down from Paramatma himself. Narayanam Padmabhuvam Vasishtam Shaktim Tatputra Parasharancha Vyasam Shukam Gaudapadam Mahantam Govinda Yogindram. It comes to Govinda Bhagavatpada Acharya from Narayana himself. What comes down is not just the knowledge, but also the way of imparting that knowledge. The way of imparting knowledge is also very important, because that is how the idea can be communicated to a disciple. So, from a guru to a shishya, to a guru to a shishya, through teaching, that comes down. And that teaching was imparted to Bhagavatpada Acharya by Govindashtakam Acharya in Omkareshwar. Then Govindashtakam says, hey Shankara, you go to Kashi and then write bhashyams for the Upanishads, the Brahma Sutra and Bhagavad Gita, which is called as Prasthana Trayi. The reason being, these three hold all the ideas that are needed to be known for a sadhaka. Whatever needs to be known are there in these three works as such. Shruti alone is enough, but then for Manana Nididhyasana, Tarka is needed. So Brahma Sutra comes into place. And then having a manual as to how to go about with the practice, Bhagavad Gita is needed. So this Prasthanatrayi has the idea that needs to be imparted, all the doubts that need to be cleared, and the idea needs to be understood, as well as a practical manual as to how to attain the goal that is taught in the Upanishads. Acharya goes to Kashi from Omkareshwar. Kashi is a great kshetra because Kashi is where it was a think tank in those days. Different philosophies, different belief systems were all prevalent in Kashi. Acharya, right from his initial travels from Kalati to Omkareshwar, had already seen the world as to how it was, in the sense how people are, what are the problems that people face, how can he serve them. All these ideas go in the back of his mind by the time he gets to Kashi. So there he started teaching. Not only teaching, but also he visits all the different shrines. There are 8 Vinayaka shrines in Kashi, and Bundi Ganesha being the most famous of all the 8. There are 2 beautiful compositions of Acharya in praise of Vinayaka. One is Ganesha Bhujanga Prayata Stothram, and another is the famous Pancharatnam. Mudakarata modakam sada vimukti sadhakam kaladharavatam sakam vilasi loka rakshakam anayakai kanayakam vinashite bhadaityakam natashubhashunashakam namamitam vinayakam. He visits Kashi Vishweshwara. There he composes a very beautiful puja, both external puja as well as an internal puja, where Acharya, the puja is offering oneself, Nirguna Manasa puja, just to question as to who the one who is ready to do the puja itself is a puja. Aradhayami manisannibhamatmalingam maya puri hridaya pankaja sannivishtam shraddha nadi vimala chitta jalabhishekaihi nityam samadhi kusumay na punarbhavaya, without a second birth. Aradhayami, Atmalingam. The very linga of Vishwesha is Atmalinga. There, Acharya has praised him in different works. And then he visits Annapurna. Nityanandakari varabhayakari Soundarya ratnakari Nirdhuta khila ghora pavana kari pratyaksha maheshwari praleya chala vamsha pavana kari kashi puradhishwari bhiksham dehi kripa balam banakari mata Annapurneshwari. Acharya asks for Jnana Vairagya Bhiksha. Jnana Vairagya Siddhyartam Bhikshan Dehi Cha Parvati. And then he says, Mata Cha Parvati Devi, Pita Devo Maheshwaraha, Bandavaha Shiva Bhaktascha, Swadesho Bhuvanatrayam. And universal teacher Shankara was. Then he says Swadesho Bhuvanatrayam, as you can appreciate the universality that Acharya imparts there. He asks for Jnana Vairagya Bhiksha to Annapurna. Kashi is a very unique place in the life of Acharya because a very interesting incident happens in Kashi. When a fine morning, Acharya is done with his snanam in Ganga, and Acharya and his disciples were going towards the shrine of Vishwanatha. A Chandala comes forward, and the disciples get worried that with all these dogs and all the other filth that is around him, he might come near Acharya. So they say, go away, apasara, apasara, go away, go away. Acharya is coming, go away, clear the way. At that moment, the Chandala stands there and says, who are you asking to go away? Are you asking this body to go away? Because this body is just simple Prakriti made out of Sattva, Rajas, Tamas and all the Panchabhutas. And that is the same in every being. There is nothing special about my body versus your body. It is all simple Panchabhutatmaka Shariram. And then if you say Atma to go away, Atma is Akarta, Bhokta, Sarvavyapi. Where can Atma go? What are you asking to go away? At that point of time, Acharya, listening to the words of the Chandala, immediately busts out with a composition. Brahmai Vahamidam Jagatcha Sakalam Chinmayatra Vistaritam Sarvam Chaitana Vidyaya Trigunaya Asesham Maya Kalpitam Itham Yasya Dridha Matihi Sukhatare Nitye Pare Nirmale Chandalostu Satudvijostu Guru Rityesha Manisha Mama. Whoever has that knowledge that I am the Atma, he is my Guru. Let him be in a Chandala Sharira or be in a Brahmana Sharira, it really doesn't matter to me. Chandalostu Satudvijostu Guruhu iti yesha Manisha Mama. I have the steadfast wisdom that he alone is my Guru. He goes and get a hold of the feet of the Chandala. It is said that immediately the Chandala vanishes and Vishweshwara with Vishalakshi and all the four Vedas are seen by the Acharya then and there, because that is the vision, the universal vision of Acharya in Kashi. In fact, Acharya has a Kashi Panchakam where he says, Kashyam hi kashyate kashi, kashi sarva prakashika, sa kashi vidita yena, tena prapta hi kashika. Kashyam hi prakashate kashi. That which illuminates, that which makes me realize, see the truth is Kashi. Because in the Kashi Panchakam, Acharya says, Kashi Kshetram Shariram Trubhuvana Janani Vyapini Jnanaganga Bhaktihi Shraddha Gayeyam Nijaguru Charana Dhyana Yogaha Prayagaha Vishwesho Ayam Turiyaha Sakala Jana Manas Sakshi Bhuto Antaratma Dehe Sarvam Madiye Yadi Vasati Punar Tirtham Anyatkyamasti Tirtham Anyatkyamasti Dehe Madiye Sarvam. He internalizes Kashi in him. Acharya is Kashi, Acharya is Kanchi, Acharya is Himalayas, and everything is Acharya is all the Punya Kshetras. Having internalized Kashi, Acharya wanted to find a place, like how we saw Vivikta Desha Sevitvam, very quiet place, place of solitude he wants, because he wanted to write this and the teachings in a systematic way by composing bhashyams to all the Prasthanatrayi, like how he was directed by Govinda Bhagavatpada Acharya. So he starts his journey towards Himalayas, and he goes to Rishikesha. And Rishikesha, he finds that the Rishikesha Narayana was in some conflicts with the Buddhists. They had taken the idol and put it in Ganga. He goes there, searches for the idol, and he gets it, that Salagrama Shila, and goes and establishes in the temple of Rishikesh. A beautiful hymn by Acharya called Shatpadi Stotra. Avinayam apanaya Vishnu Damaya manaha shamaya vishaya trishna bhutadayam vistaraya taraya samsagara sagarataha narayana karunamaya sharanam karavani tavakau charanau iti Padi Madiye Vadana Saroje Sada Vasatu. Even today there is a tradition where they take this idol of Narayana on a Panchami day, the birth tithi of Acharya. They take him in a procession, go to Ganga, give him a bath and bring him back just to enact what Acharya had done, like how reinstalling the idol. So they do it every year on the birthday of Acharya. Then Acharya travels towards Badrinath. There he does not find Badri Narayana in the temple, because Badri Narayana, due to some conflict, was put in the Narada Kunda. So there he prays to Badri Narayana in a very, very unique hymn called Haristuti. Stoshye bhaktya Vishnu-manadim jagatadim yasmin netat samsriti chakram brahmatitham yasmin drishte nashyati tat samsriti chakram tam samsaradvanta vinasham harimide. Harimide, Harimide, Tam Samsaradvanta Vinasham Harimide. The stotra is called Harimide Stuti, and there are around 40 verses in this. This is like a precursor to the bhashyams of Acharya, because Acharya brings the Upanishadic concepts in this stuti in a very systematic fashion. Acharya finds the idol of Badri Narayana from Narada Kunda and installs it in the temple. And because puja was not existing, he brings Nambudri Brahmanas from Kerala and makes them do the puja there, because of the difficulty in getting to that kshetra. He wanted some dedicated people to do puja. Even today, the set of pujaris are called Raval, and they are Nambudi Brahmanas who are selected by the Garhwal and the Travancore kings together in a joint venture to be sent to Badrinath to do the puja of Badri Narayana. So obviously there is some truth to this story, because even today, that Purvashika Brahmanas are the ones who do puja in Badrinath. Acharya stays in Badri and does puja to Badri Narayana, and he engages in the Bhashya Rachana. After the Bhashya Rachana is over, some Shankara Vijayam says that he goes to Kailasa, from there to Kedaranatha, and gets the Panchalingas from Parameshwara himself and Soundarya Lahari, which is in praise of Devi. And then he goes down further to be able to find the right disciples to be able to impart this knowledge and to make the tradition go on with disciples and their disciples and their disciples. So he travels down to Ayodhya. There he sees Rama. Very beautiful hymn by Acharya called Rama Bhujanga Prayata Stothram. There he says he's a very Ananya Rama Bhakta. Asita Sametaira Kodanda Bhushaira Sumitri Vandera Chanda Pratapai Alankesha Kalaira Sugriva Mitraira Rama Vidheyaira Namdaivatena Alam Rama Bhideyair Alam Devatena. I am not going to worship anybody who does not have Sita as his concept. Asita Sanayatair, who is not holding a Kodanda Bhau, a Kodanda Bhushay, a Saumitri Sevya, who is not besides Saumitri, who is not the friend of Sugriva. I do not want an Ishvara other than that who is Ramatparam. I am not here to worship anybody else other than Rama. Such a very beautiful hymn. And in that Rama Bhujanga Prayata Stotram, he says, in Kashi, Vishwanatha takes up Ramanama and comes to every person who is ready to leave his body and utters Ramanama in the ears of that person so that he can realize Atmajnana and get it even at the point of leaving his body. A very beautiful stotra by Acharya in praise of Rama. And he has another stotra there in praise of Hanumanji. Very beautiful 5 verses called Hanumat Pancharatnam. Duri Krita Sita Artihi Prakati Krita Rama Vaibhava Spurtihi Darita Dashamukha Kirtihi Purato Mama Bhatu Hanumato Murtihi. May that Murti of Hanuman come in front of me. Purato Mama Bhatu Hanumato Murtihi. He goes to Mahishmati from there and gets Sureshwaracharya, debates with him and makes him his disciple. From there, he goes to Mahakaleshwar, and then to Pandaripur. Mahayoga Pithe Tate Bhimaratya Varam Pundarikaya Datum Munindrai Samagatya Tishtantamananda Kandam Parabrahmalingam Bhaje Pandurangam Parabrahmalingam Bhaje Pandurangam. A very beautiful Bhujanga Prayata again on Panduranga. In fact, they trace the tradition of Abhanga singing, which is there in Maharashtra even today, sung by all the great sons of Maharashtra, Jnaneshwar, Namadev, Tukaram, Chokamela, Muktabai, Nritidev, Sopandev, and all of them had composed in the same way. Sundarate Dhyana Ubhavite Bari Karakatavali Devuniya. This is the same way that Acharya sang Mahayoga Pithe Tate Bhimaratya Varam Pundarikaya Dhatu Munitrai. They say that this Bhujanga became Bhanga. From Pandaripur, he then comes down to Sri Shailam. Acharya has composed 100 verses called Shivananda Lahari when he was in Sri Shailam. Sri Mahapariva, when he was visiting Sri Shailam, went and sat under a tree and meditated for a very, very long time, where the disciples who were around him then later shared that that was the spot even Acharya had sat down and meditated. Galanti Shambho Twacharita Saritaha Kilbisharajo Dalanti dhikulyaha saranishu patanti vijayatam dishanti samsara brahmana paritapopashamanam vasanti baccheto hrada bhuvi Shivananda Lahari. This is the second verse of Shivananda Lahari. And there are many verses that points to Mallikarjuna himself. He also has a composition on Brahmaramba called Brahmarambashtakam. Rajanmattamarala mandagamana Rajiva Patrekshanam Rajiva Prabhavadi Devamaputai Rajatpadam Bhoruham Rajivayata Patramandita Kucham Rajadhirajeshwarim Shri ShailasthalaVasinim Bhagavatim Shri Mataram Bhavaye. Another kshetra that is very near Sri Shailam is Ahobilam. From there he goes to Ahobilam. In the Ashtotra Shatanama of Acharya, he is called as a Nrisimha Bhakta Yanamaha. In fact, a very interesting incident is an anecdote is said that a Kapalika came and asked for Acharya as Bali. He asked him as his own Bali, and then Acharya said, yes, I'll give you my body, that is okay. Other disciples did not know. Then it is said that when he was about to offer Acharya as the Bali, Nrisimha Vesham came on Padmapadacharya and he immediately jumped on the Kapalika and tore him apart. And after that, Acharya, out of compassion, then asks Nrisimha to save him from this ocean of samsara. Shrimat Payonidhi Niketana Chakrapane Bhogindra Bhoga Maniranjita Punyamurte Yogisha Shashvata Sharanya Bhavabdhipota Lakshmi Nrisimha Mamadehi Karavalambam. In this stotra, Acharya describes samsara in so many different ways and then asks Nrisimha to uplift him. Lakshmi Nrisimha Mamadehi Karavalambam. Very beautiful hymn of Acharya in praise of Lakshmi Nrisimha. From there he travels to Sringagiri and establishes a Mutt there, establishes Saradamba there, and composes a beautiful hymn called Sharada Bhujanga Prayata Stothram. Suvakshoja kumbham sudha purna kumbham prasada valambam prapunya valambam sada syendu bimbam sada noshta bimbam bhaje sharadambam ajashram madambam. From there, he travels to down south through Anantapura, through the west coast, and comes to Tiruchendur, where he composes another stotra in Bhujanga meter on Subrahmanya. Ihaya hi vatseti hastan prasarya hvayatya dara Shankare Maturangat Samutpatyatatam Shrayantam Kumaram Hara Shlishtagatram Bhaje Balamurtim. Iha Ayahi Vatsa. He imagines the Somaskanda Murti where Parameshwara is seated on one side and Mother Parvati on the other side, and Subrahmanya is seated on the lap of Mother Parvati. And when Parameshwara fondly asks Subrahmanya to come to him. Ihayahi vatseti hastan prasarya ahvayat yadarat shankare maturangat samutpatya tatam shrayantam. He immediately rushes towards his father and hugs him. That Kumara, harashlishta gatram bhaje balamurti. Then it is very evident that this composition was sung in Tiruchendur, because he makes references to the ocean, to the Patra Vibhuti Prasada that is given there, and other very unique traditions in Tiruchendur SS. There is a Keshadi Padadi Keshanta Varnanam of Subrahmanya, very, very beautiful hymn. Skanda Sashti is approaching, so it is very auspicious to read this hymn during Kanda Sashti as well. Then he goes towards Kanchi through Shri Ram. He travels upwards again through Madurai. He has the darshan of Meenakshi. Shabda Brahmamayi Characharamayi Jyotirmayi Vangmayi Nityaganandamayi Niranjanamayi Tatvam Mayi Chinmayi Tatvatitamayi Parat Paramayi Mayamayi Shri Mayi Sarvaishwaryamayi Sadashivamayi Mam Pahi Meenambike. This is a very beautiful hymn on Meenakshi Pancharatnam by Acharya. He goes to Sri Ranga and has darshan of Sri Ranganatha. Ananda Rupe, Nija Bodha Rupe, Brahma Swarupe, Shruti Murti Rupe, Shashanka Rupe, Ramaniya Rupe, Shri Ranga Rupe, Ramatam Manome, Shri Ranga Rupe, Ramatam Manome. Sachitrashayi, Bhujagendrashayi, Nandankashayi, Kamalangashayi, Kshirabdhishayi, Vatapatrashayi, Shri Rangashayi, Ramatam Manome. May that beautiful form of Ranganatha always reside in my heart. Shri Rangashayi Ramatam Manome. This is Ranganatha Ashtakam by Bhagavatpada Acharya. Then he travels to Jambukeshwara, which is very nearby, and he sees the Kala of Devi as very Ugra. Then he takes a Shri Chakra and reduces the Kala of Devi and enshrines it in the Shri Chakra. That being the Appu Kshetram as such, where there is water around the temple, he did not want to do a Pratishtha on the ground, like how he does in Kanchi. Rather, he puts it as an ornament, as a Tatanka. Shri Chakratmaka Tatanka Toshitamba Manorathaya Namaha is an Amavali of Acharya, because he does Tatanka Pratishtha in Jambukeshwara. Then he travels to Thiruvidai Marudur towards the Chola region, and it is said that a hand came out of Mahalinga and said, Advaitham Satyam, Advaitham Satyam. To make this incident ever etched in our memory, Sri Periva had made a small murti of a Mahalinga Swami and a hand coming out of it in a nearby Mutt from the Thiruvidai Marudur Mahalinga Kshetram. It is also said that there is a shrine of Mukambika and there is Shri Yantra Pratishtha there. The legend has it that Acharya made that Pratishtha as such. Then he travels to Chidambaram and establishes one of the lingas that were given by him to Acharya for puja in Chidambaram in the Rataraja shrine. Even today, when you go for the Uchikala puja, you can see Abhishekam for the Spatikalingam that was given by Acharya in Chidambaram. He travels further and comes to Kanchi. Kanchi, Nagareshu Kanchi. He gets on to the Sarvagya Peetam in Kanchi. He designs the city. Kancham Shri Chakrarajakhya Yantrastapana Dikshitaya Namaha is the Namavali of Acharya. There is a tradition in Kanchi where a Murti of Acharya is brought in procession, and the 10 shlokas of Soundarya Lahari are recited in front of Kamakshi every day for 10 days. So this beautiful tradition might have come because Acharya would have composed Soundarya Lahari there, Ananda Lahari, and other hymns in praise of Kamakshi. He goes up because Acharya has done a tour of the entire Bharat multiple times. He visits Tirumala and praises Narayana, Damodara Gunamandira Sundaravadana Aravinda Govinda, Bhavajaladi Jaladhi Mathana Mandara Param Dharam Apanayatvam Me, and so on. Then he goes to Puri on this west coast from east. He travels towards Puri, and there he enjoys the Rathayatra of Jagannatha. Ratharudo Gachan Patimilita Bhudeva Patalaihi Stuti Praturbhavam Pratipadamupa Karanya Sadayaha Dhaya Sindhu Sakala Jagata Sindhutanaya Jagannatha Swami Nayana Pathagami Bhavatume. Jagannatha Swami Nayana Pathagami Bhavatume. May he come in front of my eyes. Very beautiful description of Balabhadra, Subhadra, and Jagannatha in the Jagannatashtakam composed by Acharya. There is a Mukti Mandapam right in the temple where even the Acharyas of Govardhana Pita come and sit there during Utsavams and so on, where Acharya is said to have come and sat there and stayed in Puri for some time. He establishes a Pitam there as well as in Dwaraka. He visits Vrindavan on way and goes to Dwaraka. Vrindavana bhuvi vrindaraka gana vrindaradhita vandye sham kunda bhamala mandasmera sudhanandam sumahanandam vandyasesha mahamuni manasa vandyananda padadvandvam Nandyasesha gunabhyam pranamata Govindam Paramanandam. He praises Govinda in this Govindashtakam. Satyajnanam Anantam is how it starts. Very beautiful hymn in praise of Govinda there. Not only different shrines, Acharya has also composed hymns on the Punya Nadis. Murarikaya Kali Mali Lolalali Lampata Dhunotuno Manomalam Kalinda Nandini Sada. A very beautiful Yamunashtakam. He says the color of Yamuna is black because Krishna has bathed in that Yamuna. Murarikaya Kali Mali. A very beautiful hymn in praise of Yamuna. And there are different Gangashtakams that are attributed to Shankara Bhagavatpada. There is a very famous one that is sung for Ganga Arati in different places. In Rishikesh and so on, they sing this Gangashtakam and perform Arati. Devi Sureshwari Bhagavati Gange Tribhuvana Tarini Tarala Tarange Shankara Mouli Viharini Vimale Mama Matirastam Tava Padakamale Devi Sureshwari Bhagavati Gange. Jai Jai Gange, Jai Jai Gange. Ganga Arati is offered with this Ashtakam. There are other Gangashtakams too, very beautiful Gangashtakams where the praise of Ganga is enumerated by Bhagavatpada Acharya in different shlokas as such. He has visited all the 12 Jyotirlinga Kshetras, starting from Saurashtra to Rameshwara as such, and has composed on all the 12 Jyotirlingas. There is a very beautiful stotra that starts with Saurashtre Somanathancha Shri Shaile Mallikarjunam Ujjayinyam Mahakalam Omkaram Amaleshwaram and so on. This stotra, there are one verse for every, these first 3 verses enumerate all the 12, and after that there is one verse for every one of the kshetras. Shri Pudupariva had installed a Shankara Bhagavatpada Acharya Murti in all these 12 kshetras during his lifetime. A very beautiful thing that he had done, so that we can remember Acharya. This Vivikta Desha Sevitvam we saw in the Geetha Bhashya is what translated to all these tours and him singing in praise of the deity. When he sees a deity, he does not see another object to be seen. Rather, he sees the seer as such. And that Anubhava of Acharya comes out as a hymn in praise of all these different deities as such. And this is bhakti, as we saw. Cheto vritti rupetya tishtati sada sa bhakti vityuchyate. And even in the Brahma Sutra Bhashya, Acharya says, Tadanugraha hetukenaiva cha vijnanena moksha siddhir bhavitumarhati. You need Ishwaranugraha for moksha sadhana. Samradhanancha bhakti dhyana pranidhana dhyanushthanam. It is a very big subject to take up Brahma Sutra Bhashya and look at where all Acharya has emphasized the need for bhakti. But this is just a sample of what Acharya has given in the Sutra Bhashya. Finally, Shri Mahapariva has taken up a verse from Geetha, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvataha tato vam tattvato jnatva vishate tadanantaram. He has given a very beautiful discourse. That audio is available. There, Acharya says, Bhaktya mam abhijanati. Through bhakti, you will know who I am. Yavan, my nature. Yaschasmi tattvataha. Tato vam tattvato jnatva. Tato mam tattvato jnatva. Having known me and my nature, vishate tadanantaram. You merge into me. There, Shri Pariva gives a very beautiful distinction that what you know of Ishvara initially when you do bhakti, bhaktya mam abhijanati, that you have an idea as to, okay, Ishvara is jagat karanam, janmadhyasya yataha, a tatastha lakshana of Ishvara. Yathornanabhi srijate grindhanate cha. He is the abhinna nimittopadakana karanam of this jagat and so on. And then when you come near him and when your thoughts starts flowing towards Ishvara, automatically the nature of Ishvara is revealed. Yaschasmi tattvataha. First you know me as something and then you really know me. The real knowing me is just knowing one's own self. Having known one's own self, he just merges on to his very nature. Dishate tadanantaram. With that, let's conclude. Atmatvam girijamatihi sahachara pranakshajiram griham pujate vishayopabogarachana nidra samadhisthitihi sanchara padayo pradakshina vidhihi stotrani sarvagiro yadyat karma karomi tattadakhilam Shambho tavaradhanam yadyat karma karomi tattadakhilam Shambho tavaradhanam karacharana kritam va kayajam karmajam va shravananayanajam va manasam va paradham vihitam avihitam va sarvame tat kshamasva Jaya Jaya Karunabdhe Shri Mahadeva Shambho. With this hymn, Acharya points out Yadyat Karma Karomi Tattadakhilam Shambho Tavaradhanam. May all our actions be directed towards Ishvara with the blessings of Acharya. Namah Parvati Pataye Hara Hara Mahadeva Gopika Jeevana Smaranam Govinda Govinda.
Namaskaram. Thank you, Shri Aravind Hariharan ji. on behalf of Kanchi Kamakoti Seva Foundation Midwest chapter, we thank you for this excellent, engrossing, wonderful discourse that covered on so many topics on Shankara Charitram and Shankara Vijayam, along with the works, compositions of Shankara Bhagavatpada Acharya. Started with Adi Shankara and his disciples, and how Acharya, just by looking at Thotakacharya, he got his Hatma Jnana. And also you traverse through all the paths that Adi Shankaracharya traveled from Kaladi to the north, and all the compositions, to name a few, like Rama Bhujanga, Prayagya Stothram, Hanumat Pancharatnam, Panduranga Bhujangam, Sivananda Lahari, Soundarya Lahari, Brahmarambashtakam, Lakshmi Narasimhashtakam, Subrahmanya Bhujangam, Meenakshi Pancharatnam, Ranganatashtakam, Jagannathashtakam, Govindashtakam, Jamunashtakam, Hangashtakam, so to name a few. So it was very nice to hear all this. I'm very fortunate to have your second appearance here on our Kamakoti Parayana Mandali. Hope we continue to hear more from you in this program. On the same note, we also thank all the devotees who watch this on live stream on Facebook or YouTube. Thanks for attending this Kamakoti Parayana Mandali program. We also have, for next month, in November, we are planning to have our annual Kritika Mandala Veda Parayana program. The venue and the date is to be announced shortly, so please watch for emails or on our website, kksmidwest.org. And also, happy Diwali all for, we have Diwali next week, and also for Mahaskanda Sashti Mahotsavam on October 30th. Thank you all. Hari Om.